Did she seriously wear that to a company gala? Felicia heard the whisper clearly, though the woman speaking hadn't bothered lowering her voice. Priya from marketing stood near the champagne table, barely concealing her laughter behind a manicured hand, gesturing toward Felicia's midnight blue gown. "It looks like something from a thrift store," another voice added. Danielle, the CEO's assistant, notorious for her cutting commentary. "Honestly, doesn't the company have a dress code for these events? Some standard of professionalism?" Felicia's cheeks burned, though she kept her expression carefully neutral, gripping her champagne glass a little tighter. The gown, hand-stitched, meticulously constructed from silk she'd sourced herself, embroidered with delicate beadwork that had taken nearly 300 hours to complete, was 7 years old. She'd made it herself, back when her hands still remembered the language of needle and thread, back before life had forced her into administrative work simply to survive. "Maybe she got it secondhand," Priya continued, oblivious to how clearly her voice carried. "It does look handmade. Kind of sad, actually." Felicia set down her glass, considering leaving early rather than enduring further humiliation. 3 years working as an executive assistant at Hallam Fashion Group, quietly invisible, deliberately unremarkable, she'd built this anonymous life carefully, precisely to escape a past too painful to discuss. She hadn't expected that past to matter tonight. She hadn't expected anyone to recognize what her hands had once been capable of creating. She had no idea the company's guest of honor, a legendary talent scout everyone in the fashion industry both feared and revered, was about to change everything. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our distinguished guest this evening." The room's energy shifted as Madam Choi Yun-hee, editor-in-chief of Korea's most prestigious fashion publication and notoriously ruthless industry tastemaker, stepped onto the small stage. Her presence commanded immediate silence. Decades of shaping careers, destroying reputations with single scathing reviews, discovering talents who'd gone on to international acclaim. Felicia, positioned near the back of the room, felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach. She'd met Yeon-hee once before, years ago, in another life entirely. Before formal remarks, Yeon-hee announced, scanning the crowd with practiced precision, "I must comment on something extraordinary I noticed upon arrival." Her eyes swept the room deliberately. "Someone here is wearing an original design I haven't seen in nearly 8 years, a gown I once believed I'd never encounter again." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Priya and Danielle exchanged confused glances, still clustered near the champagne table where they'd spent the evening mocking Felicia's dress. The construction technique, hand-beaded French knots along asymmetric draping, silk sourced specifically from a small atelier in Lyon. This is unmistakably the work of a designer whose disappearance from the industry remains one of fashion's greatest unsolved mysteries. Yeon-hee's sharp eyes finally landed on Felicia, recognition sparking immediately. The designer known only as F. James. Am I mistaken, or is she actually standing in this room tonight? Complete silence fell across the ballroom. Every eye turned toward Felicia, whose carefully maintained composure was crumbling beneath decades of hidden truth, suddenly threatening exposure. "I believe I recognize you," Yeon-hee said softly, walking directly toward her. "Though considerably different circumstances than our last meeting, Felicia James, you're the most promising designer I've encountered in 15 years, Yeon-hee had told Felicia during Paris Fashion Week, 8 years earlier, watching her final collection walk the runway to thunderous applause. "This career trajectory you're building, international acclaim awaits, undoubtedly." Felicia had been 26 then, brilliant, ambitious, building a fledgling fashion house from nothing but raw talent and relentless determination. Her label, F. James Couture, had been gaining serious momentum. Celebrity clients, magazine features, whispers of major investment opportunities that could transform her small operation into genuine industry powerhouse. Then her mother's cancer diagnosis arrived, devastating and immediate, requiring intensive treatment Felicia couldn't afford, while simultaneously funding her growing business. She'd made an impossible choice within weeks: dissolve her label entirely, liquidate everything she'd built, and dedicate herself completely to caring for her mother during what doctors initially predicted would be her final months. Those final months stretched into 3 difficult years of treatment, remission, relapse, treatment again. Years during which Felicia abandoned fashion entirely, took administrative work purely for stable income and healthcare benefits, watched her once promising design career fade into distant memory while she focused entirely on keeping her mother alive. Her mother had passed 18 months ago. By then, Felicia had lost complete connection to the fashion world. Her former reputation and connections dissolved through years of absence. Her identity as F. James essentially erased from industry memory, except among those like Yunhee, who genuinely understood extraordinary talent. "I disappeared because I had no choice," Felicia told Yunhee now, voice trembling slightly. "My mother needed me. Fashion needed to wait." "And now?" Yunhee asked gently. "What's kept you from returning since her passing?" "I lost everything," Felicia admitted, aware that Priya, Danielle, and dozens of stunned colleagues were listening intently now, their earlier mockery replaced by shocked disbelief. "My savings, my client relationships, my industry connections, everything dissolved during those years, focused entirely on my mother's care. I couldn't simply resurrect a fashion house from nothing. Talent like yours doesn't simply disappear because circumstances force temporary absence," Yunhee replied firmly. "This gown you're wearing tonight, when did you create it?" 7 years ago, before everything fell apart. I kept it because it represented who I used to be, I suppose, who I hoped I might become again someday. May I examine the craftsmanship more closely?" Felicia nodded, allowing Yunhee to study the intricate beadwork, the precise draping, the technical mastery evident throughout every careful stitch. The editor's expression carried genuine reverence as she examined details most observers would never notice. "This construction remains extraordinary, even years later," Yunhee announced, loud enough for surrounding guests to hear clearly. "I've reviewed thousands of designs throughout my career. Genuine innovative talent like this, technical mastery combined with authentic artistic vision, remains exceptionally rare." Danielle, still processing this dramatic revelation, finally found her voice. "Wait, you're saying she's actually some famous designer? The woman we've all been treating like she's just an assistant?" "She is just an assistant," Felicia said quietly, though bitterness colored her tone. "Currently, circumstances required practical career choices, regardless of previous accomplishments." "Circumstances that don't need to remain permanent," Yunhee interjected firmly. "Miss James, I'd like to discuss something significant with you, privately, if you're willing." In a quiet side room, away from the ballroom's stunned audience, Yunhee outlined an unexpected opportunity. "My publication is launching a significant initiative next year, showcasing overlooked, undervalued talent within Korean fashion industry. Designers whose careers were interrupted by circumstances beyond their control. Illness, family obligations, financial hardship. Stories exactly like yours. You're suggesting I return to fashion design after 8 years away, with no current portfolio, no financial resources, no industry connections remaining. I'm suggesting your talent, clearly still evident in tonight's gown, deserves genuine second opportunity. My publication would feature your comeback story, provide initial funding for a small capsule collection, connect you with manufacturers and potential investors interested in supporting exactly this narrative: genuine talent overcoming genuine adversity." Felicia's hands trembled slightly, processing this unexpected lifeline after years believing her design career had permanently ended. "Why would you do this? You barely know me beyond one gown and brief conversation." "Because talent, this genuine, deserves proper recognition, regardless of circumstances that temporarily interrupted its development," Yunhee replied firmly. "And because stories like yours, authentic struggle, genuine sacrifice, remarkable resilience, resonate powerfully with audiences increasingly tired of manufactured industry narratives. I'd need to consider practical logistics. I still require stable income, especially given remaining medical debts from my mother's treatment. I understand completely. This wouldn't require immediate resignation from current employment. We'd structure gradual transition, ensuring financial stability throughout your return to design work. Yunhee's expression softened slightly. Miss James, tonight revealed something remarkable hiding in plain sight. I simply want to help ensure that talent finally receives appropriate recognition and opportunity. The following Monday, Felicia arrived at Hallam Fashion Group, uncertain what reception awaited her after Saturday's dramatic revelation. She found her desk surrounded by colleagues, though their expressions carried genuine curiosity rather than previous dismissiveness. I owe you a significant apology, Priya said immediately, approaching with visible discomfort. What I said Saturday, about your dress looking cheap or second-hand, that was cruel and completely inaccurate. I'm genuinely sorry. Everyone owes apologies, myself included, Danielle added, uncharacteristically humble. We judged you based on assumptions about your position here, never considering you might possess extraordinary talent we simply couldn't recognize. Felicia accepted their apologies graciously, though genuine healing from years of feeling invisible and underestimated would require more than simple workplace acknowledgement. I appreciate the apologies, though I understand the assumption. I've deliberately maintained low visibility here, never mentioning my previous career. Why keep it hidden? Asked Mr. Han, her direct supervisor, joining the gathered group with obvious curiosity. Given your evident talent, why not pursue design work rather than administrative tasks? Because rebuilding a career from complete financial ruin after years focused entirely on family obligations felt genuinely impossible, Felicia admitted honestly. Administrative work provided stability I desperately needed. Fashion felt like an impossible dream belonging to my past life. Perhaps that's changing now, Mr. Han observed. Madam Choi's proposal sounds like genuine opportunity worth pursuing seriously. I'm considering it carefully, though I'll admit, returning to an industry that essentially forgot my existence for 8 years feels simultaneously exciting and terrifying. Whatever you decide, Priya said sincerely, please know we're genuinely supportive and genuinely sorry for our earlier assumptions. 3 months later, Felicia's small capsule collection, 6 pieces, meticulously crafted using techniques refined over years of quiet practice during evenings and weekends, debuted at a modest but significant showcase organized through Yunhee's publication. These pieces demonstrate exactly the technical mastery and artistic vision I recognized that evening, Yunhee told assembled industry professionals, media representatives, and potential investors examining Felicia's work with genuine appreciation. Miss James represents precisely the authentic talent our industry desperately needs highlighted. The response exceeded Felicia's cautious expectations. Genuine interest from boutique buyers, positive media coverage emphasizing her remarkable comeback story, initial investment offers allowing serious consideration of relaunching her design house properly. I still can't quite believe this is happening, Felicia confessed to Yunhee after the successful showcase. 8 years ago, I believed my design career had ended permanently. Now, standing here, watching people genuinely appreciate work I created during impossibly difficult circumstances, it feels surreal. Genuine talent rarely disappears completely, even when circumstances force temporary interruption, Yunhee replied warmly. You simply needed proper opportunity to demonstrate that talent remained fully intact, regardless of years spent focused on other obligations. Felicia had given her notice at Hallam Fashion Group the previous week, colleagues offering genuine well-wishes and support for her renewed design career, a stark, welcome contrast from initial mockery months earlier. What's next for F. James Couture? A journalist asked during the showcase's closing remarks. Careful, deliberate growth, Felicia answered thoughtfully. I've learned invaluable lessons about resilience and rebuilding these past difficult years. I intend applying those lessons toward building something sustainable this time, rather than solely chasing rapid expansion. 6 months after that fateful office party, Felicia stood backstage at Seoul Fashion Week, watching her relaunched collection. 12 pieces representing months of dedicated work, genuine artistic evolution, and hard-won resilience prepare for its runway debut. Nervous? Yeonhee asked, finding her backstage amid organized chaos of models, stylists, and dressers making final adjustments. Terrified, honestly, though perhaps less terrified than that moment 8 months ago when you first recognized my old gown at a company party I never expected would change everything. Sometimes life's most significant opportunities arrive through entirely unexpected circumstances, Yeonhee observed wisely. You could have easily left that party early, avoided further humiliation from colleagues' cruel comments. Instead, you stayed, faced genuine vulnerability, and ultimately reclaimed everything you'd believed permanently lost. The runway show proceeded beautifully, Felicia's designs receiving genuine acclaim from industry professionals, media coverage extensively highlighting her remarkable comeback story, orders flowing in from boutiques eager to carry her rebuilt label. Priya and Danielle attended the show, having maintained genuine friendship with Felicia throughout her design career's revival. Their earlier mockery transformed into authentic support and admiration. "I'm so proud of you," Priya said backstage afterward, embracing Felicia warmly. "Watching your journey these past months, from that painful office party moment through tonight's incredible success, it's been remarkable witnessing your resilience. Thank you for genuine friendship despite our rocky beginning," Felicia replied. Genuine warmth evident despite lingering memory of initial cruel comments. "Though I'll admit, I never expected mockery about an old gown would ultimately lead toward reclaiming my entire career. Sometimes life's cruelest moments create unexpected pathways toward remarkable transformation," Danielle observed thoughtfully. 1 year after that pivotal office party, Felicia stood in her own design studio, modest but genuinely hers, filled with fabric swatches, sketches, and the satisfying chaos of active creative work, reflecting on her remarkable journey. James Couture had rebuilt steadily, sustainably, avoiding rapid, unsustainable expansion in favor of careful, deliberate growth built on genuine artistic integrity rather than manufactured industry hype. She employed 3 assistants now, women she deliberately hired from underprivileged backgrounds, understanding intimately how circumstances beyond individual control could interrupt promising careers. "Any regrets about how everything unfolded?" a journalist asked during a retrospective interview marking her successful first year of relaunch. "Only that it required such painful public humiliation before genuine recognition arrived," Felicia reflected honestly. Though perhaps that difficult moment ultimately proved necessary, forcing conversation about talent and worth that mere private conversation might never have facilitated. What would you tell others facing similar circumstances? Talented individuals whose careers were interrupted by difficult life circumstances. That your worth, your talent, your capability doesn't disappear simply because circumstances force temporary practical compromise, Felicia replied thoughtfully. "I spent years believing my design career had permanently ended, that caring for my mother meant sacrificing everything I'd built professionally. But genuine talent, properly nurtured even during difficult circumstances, often finds unexpected pathways toward eventual recognition." She thought about that painful evening months earlier, Priya and Danielle's cruel whispers, her own humiliation and shame, followed by Yeonhee's unexpected recognition that transformed everything. The old gown, created during her original career's peak, had ultimately become the very thing that facilitated her remarkable comeback. "I've learned that sometimes our most difficult moments, our deepest humiliations, contain unexpected seeds of transformation," Felicia concluded. "You simply need courage to remain authentically yourself, even when others fail to recognize your genuine worth." The moral lesson of this story is that never allow others' judgment or mockery to diminish your understanding of your own worth and capability.